The first thing visitors noticed about Whispering Hollow was the silence. It wasn't a peaceful, rural kind of silence. It was oppressive, almost smothering, as if the woods themselves held their breath. When Vera received an ominous letter from her estranged Aunt Lillian inviting her to the hollow, she felt a prickle of unease. The words were scrawled in frantic penmanship, begging Vera to come. No one had seen Lillian in years, not since she retreated to the isolated family home perched on the edge of the hollow. Family whispers hinted at madness, at the age-old curse that seeped through the bloodline of those born to the land. Skeptical by nature, Vera dismissed the idea, yet the letter called to her. Days later, curiosity overrode common sense as she journeyed towards the unknown that awaited her in Whispering Hollow. The journey was treacherous, but eventually the forest spit her out into a small clearing. What remained of the house slumped forward like a wounded beast. The windows were cloudy with grime, the wooden porch warped and sagging. "Aunt Lillian," she called, stepping over the threshold. Shadows loomed in every corner of the house, and the faintest hint of mildew lingered in the air. At the top of the stairs, framed within a doorway, she saw Lillian's silhouette, thin and frail, hands clasping something that glinted faintly by the light of the single flickering bulb behind her. Her voice was cracked and desperate. "You've come back," she whispered. Before Vera could respond, Lillian darted forward, gripping her arms tightly. Her voice fell into a frantic tremble. "You've seen the woods, haven't you? Did they follow you?" "Who, Aunt Lillian?" Vera asked, but Lillian refused to answer. She only muttered about the eyes in the dark and tightly locked doors. As the evening stretched into night, Vera found herself alone in the cavernous home. The forest loomed beyond the kitchen window, throbbing with an unnatural stillness. And then she saw it. Two eyes, identical to her own, staring back at her from the tree line. Her breath hitched, the shadows beyond the window curling unnaturally. But when she blinked, the reflection was gone. By the next day, Lillian's erratic behavior only worsened. She refused to leave her room, mumbling prayers and tearing pages from books. The few she left behind had one ominous sentence scrawled across them repeatedly in her jagged handwriting: "They take what's theirs." That evening, Vera went outside to clear her mind. The woods felt alive, the snapping of twigs and faint whispers brushing against her ears. She froze as a figure emerged between the pine trees. A girl. The resemblance was impossible to deny. She could have been staring at herself, her own features mirrored in disturbing perfection. The girl tilted her head, her eerily hollow eyes gleaming as she mouthed something silently. No words came from her lips, but Vera's head filled with the sound of whispers, growing louder and harsher with every second. She fled back into the house, heart racing, determined to demand answers from Lillian. But her aunt was gone. A sickening dread twisted in Vera's stomach as the scribbled words tumbled through her head. "They take what's theirs." Suddenly, the whispering grew deafening, shaking the walls of the house. And outside the window she saw them, a dozen figures, all identical to her. Their hollow gazes stared unblinking as the real Vera realized the truth far too late. The hollow never let anyone leave. And now it had found its way to her soul.